That's the Moyie, guys. See the flags flapping in the wind? So we're gonna go explore the Moyie, see all about the Moyie and what it was like. Alrighty guys, so here we are, Caslow. See the main street there. We're gonna continue our CPR transportation, all about transportation in the inland lakes of British Columbia, guys. The Kootenays. So Kootenay Lake, Upper and Lower Arrow Lake, sternwheelers all through them, guys. So this is the Moyie. So this is one of the sternwheelers that would have plied the lakes back in the day. Canadian Pacific, Moyie, the CPR flag, the iconic red and white checkered flag, paddle wheel on the back. So this would have sailed up and down the lakes, dropping people off at Caslow, Ainsworth, Nelson, Crawford Bay, Balfour. Now it kind of rests in Caslow. See the Canadian Pacific rail car? It was trains and boats, guys. That was how everybody got around. So you take the train to the sternwheeler and then get the sternwheeler to where you need it to go. Caslow, the old station. That's the Moyie, guys. See the flags flapping in the wind? So we're gonna go explore the Moyie, see all about the Moyie and what it was like to be on the ship. So start with the bow. Passengers not allowed on main deck while landing is being made. Yeah, they'd be making the landings. Be out on Kootenay Lake, leaving Caslow. So let's go ahead. The firebox, or stokehold. This is where coal burned to generate steam to run the engines. A fireman would work 6 hours on and off, shoveling coal into the firebox. A steam gauge showed pressure levels, and water glass verified the level of water in the boiler. Yeah, hard work, man. The fireman or stoker kept steam in the boiler. Steam was the energy which powered the ship. As long as he kept the steam pressure where it belonged, the proper water level in the boiler, the ship could move steadily. This is the boiler. This is what it provided all the power. The Moyie has a steel ribbed hull. Most steamers of the era were built using wood construction throughout the vessel. This steel construction helps save the Moyie so she can be viewed today. They made it all out of wood. It's riveted too. It's all rivets. But a lot of these ships were made of wood and they just rotted into the ground, basically. The old ropes. Shipyard crews. Vulcan Ironworks. Engineers and boilermakers. Vancouver, British Columbia. And you see all the pipes, right, for the water. So the water will run through these pipes and the fire heats the pipes up, which heats the water up, which generates steam, which then powers the ship. The boiler tubes, all riveted. In the 1890s and early 1900s, the heyday years of sternwheelers, the shipyard at Nelson was an exciting place, bustling with crews of carpenters, painters, boilermakers, and other tradespeople who built and maintained the CPR fleet. Each steamboat needed a monthly boiler wash to clean the accumulated scale and other materials, as well as an annual inspection and repairs. If they leak, they have too much pressure, they can explode. There's a whole bunch of different problems with it. Look at those welds. Not too bad for the welds. But this is the boiler system, guys. The huge, huge boiler. So inside here, I showed you there's all those pipes, and then that's where they stoke the fire. So you want to watch those gauges as well for your water level, right? Because you don't want to lose water. Like I was saying, having to refill with water, like if you run out of water, you're not going anywhere. This old car, great little car, these old cars. Please stay off cars. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, it's got the pedals, the old pedal layout. By 1927, the Ford Model T was the world's most popular and famous automobile. In this year, the company offered it in colors other than black, but the motor and body were basically the same as the decade before. And then telegraphs, that was huge in the CPR, guys. Using telegraphs, being a telegraph operator. You got the headsets, all the switches and everything. Mining drill. Heavy, guys, very, very heavy. Old wagons, say talking about wagon roads, it's a literal wagon, guys. This is a nice wagon, actually. The old leaf spring suspension, before they had modern suspension systems. Look at that. The old leaves on the wagon. Isn't that cool? Automatic carbonator for carbonating liquids. These old barrels are so cool too. But just imagine the sounds and the smells back in the day, guys, being on one of these things. Caslow Fire Department. They got the ladder, the axe, fire extinguisher, lots of fruit transportation, Okanagan, British Columbia pears, head office Vernon, British Columbia, apples, packed and shipped by Caslow Co-op Union, Kootenay apples. So this is the cook storage. So this is where the cook would store all their food, obviously. And the meals here were quite something. It was an event traveling on one of these things back in the day. The express room. Mail, yeah, because they would deliver, they'd use these to deliver mail. 1919 Ford TT, built at the same time as the Model T passenger car. All Ford trucks were designated TT. It's a 4-cylinder, 20 horsepower, planetary, 2-speed auxiliary. It's got an auxiliary, nice, that's cool, man. Back in the day, look at this old beauty. The inline 4, guys. Look how simple it is. Look at that's the distributor for the spark plugs. Right into the wiring harness, basically, or what if you want to call that a wiring harness. No like distributor cap or anything. So bare bones. Look how basic it is. A little radiator with a little fan. Transmission. This is the galley, all pretty self-explanatory, this one, where they made all the food. Here, the cook and his helpers all usually Chinese prepared meals on the cast iron stove. When ready, the orders were placed in a dumbwaiter or elevator and sent to the pantry just off the dining saloon. The menus were varied and interesting. Chicken pate, mashed and boiled potato, apple pie, lamb beef au jus, macaroni and cheese, boiled codfish and shrimp, chowder. Decent. The dynamo. This would make electricity for the entire ship from steam power. Lights throughout the ship and the spotlights worked from this dynamo. Yeah, so the dynamo would provide power, guys. You can see that's where the magic all happens. Electrical control panel, voice communications. So this is engineering, guys. You see all their tools there. Look at the size of some of these wrenches too, big wrenches. Boiler feed pump. Siphons, these are siphons. Oh, this pipe is asbestos. They used to wrap all their pipe in asbestos, guys. So this would be the port engine. So you can see the steam pipes come up out of the floor. And then here's where it all works. The pitman arm, guys. Similar to your vehicle, pitman arm. This will move back and forth. It goes all the way out here to the wheel back there. You see through there. And then the back, it's like a piston, guys, just stroking back and forth. And that causes the paddle wheel to move, which basically propels the vessel. These little vessels could get up to quite a clip. But you can see basically, that's the paddle wheel where, you know, the propulsion is actually happening. And then the pitman arm comes through right here, guys. This joint right here, this crank is where everything's going to be transferred. You have steam that's coming through all these pipes. Like, so this is your main steam feed from your boiler. It's branching off to the port and starboard sides. You follow this pipe all the way down, it'll take you to the boiler. There's siphons in here so that you can siphon steam off to perform various different functions. The steam comes down through here into here and then starts to move these cylinders, which then stroke in and out, which cause this whole assembly to move. It's transferred here through the crank and then to the paddle wheel. You can kind of see there to similar thing, guys. But pitman arm, that's how they propel themselves. Pitman arm and steam power. Engineer's locker. Auxiliary pump. So, like I was saying, guys, these siphons, you see how there's a whole bunch of valves over there with a big manifold? So that manifold of valves are siphons. And so basically, if you want to use some steam to perform a certain function, that's where this would come in. So you see these pipes here. It's got all these needle valves. These are needle valves. We call these needle valves. So you just follow the piping system, right? And you just make sure all these valves are open. And then this will run the auxiliary pump. Similar to probably like what a bilge pump would be nowadays, right? Because you want to keep all the water out of the hull. You don't want to have any issues like that. So that's the throttle control. But this is engineering, guys. This is the engineering bay. And then the dynamo, which provided power to the whole of the ship. And you can see here, another siphon, guys, into the dynamo, and they're using the steam power from the siphon to make the dynamo work. What is this one? FM rights, August 7th, 83, May 18th, 86. That's 1886 too, guys. So we've got the dynamo, we've got the auxiliary pump on both sides, engine controls. So this is where you operate the ship. So you've got your throttle control is up there. Your engine controls are right here. You've got your valve manifold for all your siphons. So if you want to run different functions or not run different functions, you can. You've got the dynamo to run power to the lights. And then here's the starboard engine, wrapped in asbestos too. So manual engine oiler, really important, guys. Main steam line, the feed from the boiler. Basically, it goes all the way down to the bow of the ship where the boiler is, and then branches off every which way. You can see the siphons too. Right here is the siphon, and it goes all the way through a series of needle valves down, right? And then you just basically decide what you want, but it's nice to have options for things. That's another view of the engine. Nice old bench vise, eh? Back in the day where they used to make good bench vices. We're just walking around the ship right now, guys, checking everything out, giving her a good look. We'll go over this side, see if there's anything else. So we've got the stack here for the boiler, and then you've got the feed, right here, the main feed, guys. You see the big needle valve, right? Everything's controlled with needle valves. Help control pressure, right? Because needle valve, you can dial in and out as you want. So these old beauties, man. I love looking at this old equipment. More gauges. All kinds of needle valves, another manifold. Because the whole thing is steam powered, so you use these needle valves to distribute steam around the ship. They got the Vitalics nowadays for the fire control. Asbestos, everything's been wrapped in asbestos. Old pieces of coal down there. Rowboat, very important if you ever got to get out. SS Moyie, guys. Swede saws, buck saws. Anything you basically need, because the other thing was you'd have to cut your own wood, so they'd have firewood stores all along certain areas of the bank, and that's where guys would go and get firewood, and then you'd have to load it up with firewood. The Yukon, they did that too. Everywhere, any stern whaler, basically. Powdered whole milk, Toronto, Ontario. Oh, so this is cool. So that's part of the SS Caslow, guys, this window frame. It's part of the SS Caslow. It's lots of rope, guys, no shortage of rope. Same thing with turnbuckles too. Adjust, because this turnbuckles allow you to adjust the length of things. So they're really handy. So there's people up top there. So I kind of got the bottom to myself right now. So I just want to kind of, don't want to miss anything, right? I could do that. Go missing stuff. For most of her career, the Moyie went about her daily routine with little fanfare or glamour. She carried the crops, moved the cattle, shuffled the barges, delivered the packages and mail, brought in ever-popular supplies of spirits and beer from the government distributor, and transported thousands of passengers from place to place. These boats were a big deal, guys. They were a huge deal. And then this is the bow. Oh, buddy windsurfing out there. SS Moyie of Vancouver. The capstan there for the winch, for the deck lines. Okay, so we're going to go up to the second floor now. Look at the second floor. Oh, it's gorgeous. What a gorgeous boat. What a nice boat. So yeah, guys, you can see, we'll go inside, but let's just do a little walk on the outside. So just imagine you're out on the lake, Kootenay Lake or Lower Arrow Lake, or frankly, any of them, Lake Kamloops Lake, and you're just out on the deck, right? You're looking at the beautiful mountain views. Just, you go to the saloon, go to the bar, have a few drinks, right? Maybe get some dinner. It was an experience, guys. We all missed it. Like BC Ferries, that doesn't count. Nothing like what this was. This is where all the propulsion would have happened, guys. Right here. So that's the other end of the pitman arm I was showing you guys. And then it spins that shaft, which rotates the wheel. And then they've got it caged because they don't want people getting sprayed, the passengers. It was a special day when you got to travel on one of these steamers, and you talk to anybody that ever did it, you know, most of them are dead, if not all of them. Maybe if you're still alive and you took one of these boats, please write a comment. I'd love to hear. But it was an experience that we don't really understand, guys, because life was just different, and the way people thought of things was different, and their appreciation for smaller things in life was greater. So it allowed them to take these excursions and really kind of experience life on the lake, you know, life on a boat, have a real experience. The second story of the front of the bow. But just imagine you're out here on the lake, guys, looking at the glory of British Columbia and everything it has to offer. So maybe you're starting a new life, maybe you're headed to your claim, going mining, who knows? It was an incredible time to be in transportation, and trains weren't any less, guys. Trains were equally as special. Here's the inside. Look at like the finishes, the stained glass in the top, the roof, the wood, the nice solid wood floor, the architecture, all the trim, the light fixtures. Like it is a full experience, guys, taking one of these. I wish we had something like this these days, but we don't. Traveling to the place that you were going was just as much of an experience as the physical place that you wanted to be and end up in. So this was from the men's smoking room. Those coins there, ruler, Reader's Digest. Some really interesting old artifacts. Miscellaneous items were used to prop up the windows. Occasionally these items would fall down the window wells. The window wells also served as a wastebasket to some traveling on the Moyie. These items in the display are a small sample of what was found down the window wells during the archival removal. Old Canadian Pacific catalog there. Old wood stove as well, guys. The wood stove. Three Nuns Tobacco, none nicer, Glasgow. Playing some poker, you got the drinks. Playing some poker, got the bags here. All the baggage for the trip. Ah, the most important place, the bar. Yeah, get some drinks, eh? Hang out on the lake, play some cards, take it nice and easy. That's the lavatory. So this is the linen area. Yeah, that's steward, the bunks. Small bunks though, eh? Wow. Canadian Pacific, the new highway to the Orient, across mountains, prairies, and rivers of Canada. The old phonograph. Talking machine. Victor Talking Machine, Camden, New Jersey. Okay, here we go. This is the dining room, guys, the main hall. So some cabins. In the late 1920s, the return trip was scheduled to leave Nelson at 4 p.m., and the trip back could be leisurely indeed. With more brief stops, often she wouldn't reach Caslo again until late in the evening, sometimes near midnight. For passengers, there was plenty of time for a relaxed meal in the dining saloon, reading in the lounges, or a game of cards. Some travelers preferred to take a stateroom, tuck the children into bed, and take a nap, knowing that a steward would awaken them before reaching Caslo or Argenta late at night. The highlight of the interior of the Moyie was its large dining saloon, with its marvelous view of Kootenay Lake and the surrounding mountains. The floor was laid with intricate hardwood. All around the room, on the upper walls, the gold leaf stenciling was carefully applied by the master painter at the shipyard. Under the watchful eyes of the chief steward, the waiters served full-course meals, attended to the passengers in the impeccable traditions of first-class dining on the Canadian Pacific Railway. For excursions, the tables and chairs would be stacked, pushed aside to clear the floor for dancing. The elegant dining saloon is one of the centerpieces of the steamers like the Moyie, and a meal on one of the Canadian Pacific steamers was a memorable occasion. They don't build things like this anymore. Look at this. Look at how beautiful this is. In 1929, weary travelers paid $3 extra for the amenities provided by a private stateroom. With the upper and lower bunks, wash table, and basin, the stateroom, originally part of the dining room, was added in 1926. Look at the floor, too. It's absolutely gorgeous. Gotta have a good piano player on a boat. Her Majesty Queen Mary, His Majesty King George V. These old columns. Gold leaf stenciling was discovered hidden under layers of white paint. The patterns were applied by the CPR's master painters, who carefully dusted powdered gold leaf onto linseed oil to produce ornate designs. Yeah, they're trying to find a lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff's been lost over time. The bridal suite. In 1912, the Duke of Connaught, Governor General of Canada, was accommodated on the Moyie during his visit to the Kootenays. The fifth. This is the old lavatory, washroom. And then this is the lounge, guys. The old seats. I think this is Scott Joplin song. Maple Leaf Rag. Maple Leaf Rag. That's what it is. Oh man, the old music. Everything about this experience back in the day. Ladies' cabin back there, guys. This is the gentleman up front. The pilot house, guys. Moyie. This is the old dock, guys. The CPR would pull in here. The old Canadian flag. That's what the Canadian flag used to look like. Yeah, the old dolphins. You can see the dock just submerged underneath the water. Caslo Slocan Railway.
Later. Two gold.
Oh, the speaking tubes. That's a speaking tube. So they would speak into this tube, and then the sound would carry down to the engine room or to the engineering area. So they could speak to each other because it's so loud. So you put your ear up against the speaking tube, and then they would basically be able to talk to each other. You can honk the horn, guys. That's what we were hearing before. You gotta make a donation, though. The pilot house. A lucky passenger might be invited to ride for a while in the pilot house with the captain, trading stories or learning some of the tricks of steamboat navigation. A great cheat for children was to be lifted up by the captain and allowed to pull the whistle. Of course it was. Little heater in there. That's the stack, guys. You can see the whistle, the line for the whistle. With the sweeping view of the bow and lake, the captain could steer the sternwheeler into shallows or through rapids. The 78-inch diameter wheel was connected to heavy chains and metal rods to the rudders, located in the front, just in front of the paddle wheel. These chains would control the metal rods, which then controlled the rudder for the steering. The SS Moyie made her last voyage on April 27th, 1957, and was docked at Proctor, awaiting delivery to Caslo. While at Proctor, the ship was vandalized and the whistle was stolen. In the early 1960s, JDS Derry Smith of Nelson presented the Moyie whistle to W.A. Federy, curator of the Nelson Museum, and Smith was asked how he came to have this whistle. There are two versions of Smith's answer to the question. According to one version, he said he had found the whistle in the government works yard in Nelson. In another version, Smith reported to have said, "I swiped the whistle from the guy who swiped it from the ship." The whistle was kept at the Nelson Museum awaiting a special occasion for its return to the Moyie. The occasion finally came, August 7th, 1978, when a plaque was unveiled that designated the ship a National Historic Site. The CPR had operated the Moyie on Kootenay Lake for nearly 59 years, 1898 to 1957. But yeah, look, this is the Moyie, the wheelhouse of the Moyie, guys. What a gorgeous little boat. Let's just do a full circle. The road's down there. But just imagine the experience you would have had walking on one of these, right? It's just absolutely fantastic. Just a great experience. The views, the food, the bar, the company. What more could you want? More wagons. Miner's cabin. Dozens of small cabins such as this dotted the mountains around Kootenai, Slow Canyon, Arrow Lakes, built by prospectors needing shelter as they searched for silver, lead, gold, or zinc. In the early days, before railroads and sternwheelers came to the Kootenays, supplies had to be brought in either on the miner's back or mules and horses. Consequently, as many items as possible were handmade at the claim site. It was a hard life, guys, back in the day. Old prospector cabin, though, wood. You can see the shaft, right? Spins everything. And then vessels such as the Moyie were seldom built from detailed plans. Instead, the master builder worked from the overall drawing and design of the cabins and the outline of the shape of the hull lines. From that point on, the craftsmen knew from experience and discussion with each other how to proceed. There would be no power tools available, and almost every piece was carefully cut by hand to fit with hand saws, a variety of chisels, wood planes, and augers. Many pieces had to be carefully bent to shape. To do this, the wood was cut to size and then placed in a steam box and allowed to soften. Working quickly with clamps, hammers, and nails, the men could then form the wood to curve around a delicate corner of the cabin or follow the graceful lines of the hull. The ship workers knew their trades well. Over many years, they had learned the skills of shipbuilding and repair from the older, more experienced men. Passenger sternwheelers served BC from the 1858 Fraser River Gold Rush until the retirement of the Moyie in 1957. Only the Samson V and the Essington snag boats on the Fraser and Skeena Rivers were used after the Moyie. The Moyie has a strong design links to the earliest BC sternwheelers. Like nearly all of the dozens of vessels that worked in BC, she provided a vital means of travel and supply for settlers, trade, and industry. The Moyie is the oldest and only 19th century intact passenger and freight carrying survivor of hundreds of similar vessels. Where there was gold, silver, copper, and other valuable minerals, there were usually sternwheelers. Steamers worked on all the major rivers, the Lower Fraser, the Upper Fraser, the Thompson, Skeena, Stikine, Yukon, and Peace Rivers. The vessels varied in size from small craft made of hand-sawn lumber like the Enterprise on the Upper Fraser to palatial vessels like the Canadian Pacific's Bonington, Dasukin, and Sicamous. Service standards ranged from almost non-existent on some of the pioneering vessels to lavish on the steamers of the larger companies. Some services like those on the Skeena, Stikine, and Yukon were seasonal. Northern rivers were frozen in the winter, and in some areas low water in the summer and early autumn could make safe navigation impossible or very risky. Most of the vessels gave way by the 1920s or 30s to competition from railways and expanded road systems. But a few survived longer, including the Minto on the Arrow Lakes and the Moyie on Kootenai Lake. Complementing the Moyie, the Sicamous preserved at Penticton, and the Samson V, the Maritime Museum in New Westminster, and the Klondike in the Yukon is a beautifully restored National Historic Site at Whitehorse. And the Keno also is a National Historic Site and part of the Gold Rush Heritage History at Dawson City. At remote Atlin, the honorary steamer Terrain, a propeller-driven motor vessel once operated by the White Pass Yukon Railway, is preserved by the Atlin Historical Society. Today, engineers and designers use blueprints as a starting point for any construction project. However, the 19th century shipbuilding in North America was a craft learned in the shipyard from master shipbuilders. The use of blueprints was rare. Instead, the half-hulled model was the starting point for nearly all wooden-hulled vessels like the Kuskonook. Half-hulls were carved out by the master builder or designer, and the lines of the ship were lifted, usually carefully measuring cross-sections. These lifts were scaled up to form the patterns of the vessel. This form of construction using the half-hull as the blueprint was called practical shipbuilding. By the mid-1830s in England, timber for shipbuilding was very scarce, and the British shipyards turned to iron and soon to steel. These materials were more difficult to work, and the role of civil engineers, tank tests, and blueprints became common. This was scientific shipbuilding, and it gradually became the norm in North America by World War II. When the Moyie was built in 1898, practical shipbuilding still reigned in Western North America because large timber was plentiful. Evidence of that practical shipbuilding occurred well into the 1920s in the Kootenai shipyards. The Moyie is a rare example of composite-hulled shipbuilding, wherein frames, ribs, and sides of the sternwheeler are iron and steel, and the bottom is wood. This method was first used in the mid-19th century on the China clippers. Only 4 composite-hulled sternwheelers are known in Western Canada. Out of 400 plus vessels, 3 of these steamers were prefabricated in Toronto for the CPR and destined for the Stikine. The Moyie and the Minto were diverted to the Kootenay Lake and Arrow Lakes routes, while the Tyrrell served on the Yukon River during the Klondike Gold Rush and now lies abandoned on the riverbank near Dawson City. It is likely the Moyie was constructed using scientific shipbuilding. No hull blueprints for any of the CPR composite hulled vessels have been found, but the search continues. A full set of hull blueprints for a late 1920s wooden barge is in the current collection. There you go, guys. This is the Moyie, the beautiful Moyie, guys. You'd see the hull, get right down there. Look at the hull for you guys, sitting in the cradle. What an incredible boat, though. The heyday of steam travel, guys. So anyways, guys, if you like this, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified, leave a comment, and Sasquatch Prospector out.